Silly butts, we back. Let's get it.
We need security because we are being hunted by the Mexican cartel.
When we talk about cartels, we usually focus on the brutal kingpins, men like El Chapo or El Mencho. But sometimes there's a queen pin in the background, and sometimes she's just as ruthless as her husband. There are many tough female narcos, and many of history's most ruthless mobsters were female, but we've covered that before. Today, we'll be focusing on some of the most dangerous narco wives in the cartel world. Mia and Olivia Flores.
Ellen, they call themselves cartel wives, and tonight the women married to El Chapo's top dogs in Chicago are themselves trying to escape the federal doghouse.
Mia and Olivia Flores are married to Pedro and Margarito Flores.
Hey, them females, they in Chicago? I see a lot about Chicago, especially all that violence going on up there. It's tough.
The notorious twin brothers that used to work for the Sinaloa cartel in Chicago. But sometime in the 2010s, the Flores brothers became DEA informants. They even recorded conversations with El Chapo that helped put him in the ADX Florence after his arrest in 2016. Needless to say, this made Pedro and Margarito sworn enemies of the Sinaloa cartel. However, they didn't roam the streets for a long time either. In 2015, they were arrested and charged in the United States for drug trafficking. They both pleaded guilty and received an equal sentence of 14 years. So after the twins were sent to prison and El Chapo was convicted with their help, the Flores wives started fearing for their lives.
We need security because we are being hunted by the Mexican cartel.
But it's not like they didn't see it coming.
I feel like we've always lived with danger being in Mexico and, of course, our husbands being fugitive.
You were well aware that your husbands were involved in the cartel.
Yes.
How did you feel about that?
I mean, at the time, you know, you're living that life and you're blinded by pretty much everything.
I feel like that's cap. I hate when women talk about they blinded and all of that stuff. Nah, you know exactly what's going on. You see people getting killed. You see people getting robbed. You see everything that's going on. You're not blinded. You just don't care because you're getting all the perks of the winning side. But anyways, man, that's me in my opinion. Who am I? I'm a nobody. Anyway, let's get back to it.
What you see on TV, when you see the Kardashians, that's the type of lifestyle that we lived. You have so many people now today on social media that glamorizes that lifestyle, and I think that they don't realize what this life is about. It's about destruction. It's about violence. People are getting killed. People are being tortured.
According to Mia and Olivia, they only became aware of the Sinaloa's horrendous crimes after they married their husbands. If the Flores twins had a change of heart when they turned on El Chapo, or if they were just looking for a deal with the cops, we might never know. But their wives saw their imprisonment as an opportunity to speak out against the cartels.
I mean, I wish I could sit here and take it back, but I mean, this is a part of who we are.
Olivia and Mia wrote a book titled Cartel Wives. There, they described the jobs that Pedro and Margarito did for El Chapo and the ins and outs of drug smuggling from their perspective.
Our husbands ran their company like a Fortune 500 company. They had so many workers. They had stash houses. They had money counters that worked 3 shifts a day, counting millions and millions of dollars.
This is what made the cartel wives especially dangerous. They revealed Sinaloa's secrets, helping put even more sicarios and smugglers behind bars.
Chapo works directly with the Colombians. They have narco submarines. Our husbands...
Narco submarines?
Yes. They bring these narco submarines with tons and tons of cocaine.
Today, is there really anything different than when El Chapo was the head of the cartel?
When there's demand, the drugs are going to keep coming and they're going to keep flooding the U.S.
Wow.
To this day, Mia and Olivia live on the run, constantly changing addresses and trying to avoid the hits on their heads.
I have had to move several times around the U.S. because we have contracts on our heads and people are definitely trying to hunt us and kill us.
However, in July 2022, it was reported that both cartel wives are looking to get immunity after a promise that was made to the Flores brothers.
The Chicago brothers were sentenced to 14 years and have reportedly ended their prison sentences. But Mia and Olivia appeared today in a Dirksen Federal Building virtual court hearing trying to get the money laundering case against them thrown out.
Indeed, it turns out the two narco wives were involved in the cartel world too. They weren't innocent bystanders. They helped their husbands with money laundering. At the very least, they stashed $5 million in cash under the floorboards of one of their houses. However, Olivia helped turn over $1 million to the feds after a non-prosecution agreement. On top of that, Pedro Flores was promised that no one in his family would be charged if they testified against El Chapo and his cartel.
Cooperators are our lifeblood. And sometimes you have to cut deals with some unsavory folks.
However, there is still some debate as to the validity of that promise, as there are no records of it. Reportedly, it happened during a secret meeting.
Judge Matthew Cannelli will determine whether the cartel wives get a free pass because of some unwritten and unverified immunity deal. Olivia Flores said one of the twins' demands for cooperating against El Chapo was immunity for their family. Regardless, Olivia Flores today testified about the fallout of being a cartel wife for her and her children. Despite having written a book and done TV shows,
if the feds say they're going to get immunity, they got to give them immunity.
According to the prosecutor, though, the Flores wives can't get immunity because they committed crimes
Nah.
after Pedro asked for their protection.
I'm not aware of any immunity that provides blanket protection against future crimes and future misconduct. It's just not the way the system works. The essence of the claim here, to throw it out by these wives, was that they had been promised immunity, but they could point to nothing in writing. They had no conversation that was recorded or reported. They're talking about it, what they said was an old discussion years and years and years ago with an assistant U.S. attorney. Those kinds of claims very rarely succeed.
So Mia and Olivia might be sentenced to prison. However, prison might be safer for them as the Sinaloa continues to attempt to murder them.
Nah, I don't think so.
Adriana
They're
Mesa
gonna be
Torres.
easier targets to
In
get
January
got.
2023, El Chapo's son Ovidio Guzman was arrested for the second and final time and charged with murder, money laundering, and, well, running Mexico's most profitable drug empire. But the Sinaloa's crimes are far from over, and it was around the time of Ovidio's arrest that people started looking at his wife, Adriana Mesa Torres. Adriana was born in the mid-1990s to parents Ida Elizabeth Torres Felix and Raul Mesa Ontiveros. Raul, aka M6, was a notorious Sinaloa cartel general. Adriana's uncles, Javier Torres Felix, aka LJT, and Manuel Torres Felix, aka M1, are some of El Mayo's most trusted men.
I'm just convinced that everybody in Mexico was in a cartel, bro. Cause it's like somehow, in some way, they connected to some cartel or some high-ranking general or something crazy. Like, every time you turn around, every dude is always connected. That's tough, though. Like, I ain't saying it's a bad thing. I also ain't saying it's a good thing either. No comment.
This put Adriana in excellent relations with both factions of the Sinaloa cartel, El Chapo's sons and El Mayo. When she was still a teenager, Adriana started dating Ovidio, one of El Chapo's oldest sons, and a key member of the Sinaloa royalty. Before long, the two were married in a lavish ceremony. However, in Adriana's case, this wasn't just a celebration of love. By marrying into Sinaloa royalty, her claim to the throne is solidified. In many cases, when a kingpin disappears, the wife is given even more access to the business and the money behind it. And in the dog-eat-dog world of Mexican cartels, your husband will disappear, either in prison or with a bullet in his head. Adriana knew this all too well. In 2007, her dad was gunned down by authorities in Jalisco. 5 years later, Javier was arrested for homicide, illegal use of firearms, and organized crime.
Damn.
Months later, Manuel was also killed in a police shootout.
God damn.
Then the worst tragedy yet happened. Her little brother, El Mini 6, was killed after flashing his gun and lethally shooting a police officer. He was only 18, but he was known as the Sinaloa cartel's youngest assassin. He already had a myriad of murder charges under his belt. Adriana was heartbroken, but not surprised. When you live in the cartel world, you know these things happen. You just hope they don't
be
happen
so
to
young
you.
down there.
In 2016, El Chapo was arrested for a third time. This time, he was extradited to the U.S., found guilty of all charges, and sentenced to life in prison at the Florence
I
Supermax.
forgot he
It's
got
pretty
life.
clear he won't be walking free again or conducting his
I ain't gonna
business
cap
from
to y'all.
prison.
Free El
But
Chapo.
his sons had been growing for years in preparation for this. Mexican authorities and the DEA had been trying to arrest Los Chapitos for years. In 2019, they arrested Ovidio for the first time, but he got word that the military was approaching his house, and his older brother Ivan unleashed his Sicaria army on the soldiers. Sadly, the Sinaloa cartel managed to intimidate Mexico's president. He released Ovidio just a few days later. But that doesn't mean the authorities stopped trying. In January 2023, the Mexican military raided his house again, and this time, he was sent straight to the Altiplano prison, the one his father had escaped twice.
The detainee was transferred
What
from
the
the place of his
coincidence?
arrest to Mexico City in an Air Force aircraft.
Are they implying he's gonna break out? What y'all think? Drop some in the comments.
Army and National Guard personnel continue to assist the civil authorities in restoring public order and the rule of law.
With El Chapo and Ovidio behind bars, one might think that the Sinaloa days are one step closer to the end. But bigger fish keep emerging from the shadows, and Adriana Mesa Torres seems to be one of them. Adriana knew her husband was as brutal as his father.
They now say this drug lord, nicknamed the Mouse, has ordered the murders of informants, a rival drug trafficker, and a popular Mexican singer who refused to perform at his wedding.
But just like the Flores wives, she wasn't an innocent bystander. When the police arrested El Chapo in 2016, the DEA researched his network, and that started with his immediate family. First came his sons, Los Chapitos, and his wife, Emma Coronel Aispuro. But as the DEA looked at his sons' wives, they noticed Adriana as the daughter of M6 and an active Sinaloa member. Adriana was declared a person of interest. Her bank accounts were frozen, and she was investigated for money laundering. The DEA suspected her of diverting illicit money to other sources or spending blood money for a luxurious lifestyle. It turns out their intuition was correct. On paper, all Adriana had was an agriculture business. So why did she have a luxury villa, expensive cars, hyper-expensive jewelry, and an everyday Kardashian lavish lifestyle?
The Financial Intelligence Unit of the Ministry of Finance and Public Credit has pointed to the woman as an alleged lender for the Los Chapitos organization, especially for the activities of Jesus Alfredo and Ivan Archival do Guzman Salazar, as well as Ovidio and Jesus Guzman Lopez.
So not only is she part of the Los Chapitos, she seems to be in charge of their money. However, the Financial Intelligence Unit couldn't find enough evidence to convict her at the time.
Well, they can't. She ain't doing nothing. That girl ain't doing nothing but growing plants and growing fruits and vegetables. Duh.
As of 2023, Adriana's defense team has managed to keep her out of jail, claiming there is no evidence to support the claim that she is tied to the Sinaloa cartel. It's pretty shocking this works, but at the moment, the prosecution is working hard to put her behind bars.
My bad. Shit.
Of course, the list would be incomplete without El Chapo's wife, Emma Coronel Aispuro. Emma is a full 32 years younger than El Chapo, and her husband was married at least 3 times before her. In fact, according to journalist Anabel Hernandez, El Chapo never divorced his first wife, Alejandra Salazar. This means that, technically, Emma isn't El Chapo's legitimate wife. Confronted with this information, Emma simply stated that they were married under the law of the divine.
I always hear the law of divine. I don't know what that means. What is that? Somebody dropped in the comments what that means. Please tell me, yeah. I want to know. I don't want to look it up. I want y'all to teach me. Please, someone drop it in the comments and tell me so I can learn from y'all. Come on, help me help you. Let's get it. Silly butt.
Emma started out as a trophy wife to El Chapo. She was only 17 when he saw her at a beauty contest and decided he wanted to have her. On her 18th birthday, the two got married in a ceremony filled with famous officials and high-ranking cartel members. Whether Emma married him out of love, fear, or love of money, we can never truly know. But her relationship with El Chapo changed dramatically, especially after his arrest. Until El Chapo's 2016 arrest, not much was known about Emma, except she was the mother of twin daughters, Maria Joaquina and Emily Guadalupe. Emma tried to lay low and live a private life in the US. She even kept the father's name out of the girls' birth certificates. Clearly, she wanted to stay safe.
¿Ustedes por qué deciden tenerlas a ellas en California?
Como yo nací allá, se supuso que era buena idea que también fueran ciudadanas americanas.
¿Por qué es buena idea ser ciudadano americano?
Por si quieres vivir en otro país, pues Estados Unidos se me hace buena elección y pues necesito que ellas estén donde yo estoy.
Every time Emma was asked about her husband's many crimes, she feigned ignorance. However, there was a $5 million reward on El Chapo's capture, and his cartel made headlines almost every single day in Mexico. Moreover, when El Chapo escaped the Altiplano prison in 2015, he escaped through a tunnel that led straight to a property bought by Emma. So she really couldn't deny her involvement in her husband's affairs. Then there was El Chapo's 2017 trial. Suddenly, Emma was always in the news, partying, purchasing luxury clothes, and dining at high-end restaurants. Her Instagram amassed 500,000 followers within just a few posts of her flashing expensive clothing. She became known as a Narco Barbie. Her husband getting sent away seemed to be a new lease on life to Emma. In 2019, she even appeared in a VH1 reality show on a yacht with the son of a Colombian drug lord. She opened a fashion line wearing her husband's face and name and gave interviews about what it's like to be a narco wife. Of course, the Sinaloa cartel were not happy about this. In the cartel world, there's an unwritten rule that drug lords' wives should lead a sheltered, obscured life. This might sound unfair, but isn't it just as unfair to flash your blood money riches? During El Chapo's trial, Emma showed up in a different designer suit every day. She did this in front of authorities and in front of cartel members. And in the courtroom, she either blew kisses to her husband or sat poker-faced as people described horrendous instances of El Chapo torturing people. Clearly, Emma knew all about this. According to Rolling Stone, a few text messages between the married couple were played in court. In the text, the two basically chatted about El Chapo's bloodiest affairs. Then they joked about their kids growing up and joining the cartel soon.
Y'all know me. I gotta get the dirt. I gotta get the dirt. Just killed a few of those scum. That's great, honey. Do we need milk? What? Yes, I'll be a while before this is cleaned up. No problem. Anything else you need me to get while I'm out? Casual conversation, like this guy didn't just say he just murdered 2 people or something like that. I don't know, but okay. Obviously, there is some deranged mental issues going on here, and we're just going to ignore them. But yeah, me too. I'm gonna ignore them too. It has nothing to do with me. I'm just doing a reaction to the video. I don't want no smoke at all, Chapo or Emma or none of y'all. I'm cool. I'm gonna get tuned in. You feel me? So I can learn how not to mess with y'all. You feel me? I mean, stay out y'all way. You know. Let's get it. Set it up.
El Chapo wrote to his wife, "Our Kiki is fearless. I'm going to give her an AK-47 so she can hang with me. Emma is fearless too, albeit not in the right way." According to Annabelle Hernandez, Emma's lavish lifestyle during El Chapo's imprisonment is her revenge. As it turns out, El Chapo was repeatedly unfaithful to Emma, while she was the most loyal wife he could wish for. She protected him, covered for his crimes, helped him escape, and put herself in harm's way for him. So the minute Emma realized her husband would never leave prison again, she decided to make him see what he was losing. However, she dug her own hole this way. In February 2021, she was arrested and charged with money laundering, drug trafficking, and helping El Chapo run his drug empire in numerous ways.
The former beauty queen appeared before a federal judge in Washington, D.C. on Thursday morning and pleaded guilty to participating in a conspiracy to distribute cocaine, methamphetamine, heroin, and marijuana for importation into the U.S.
Emma will be spending 3 years in prison, but after her release, she might have to live on the run, like the Flores' wives. Reportedly, the DEA is trying to cooperate with her in order to bring down as many Sinaloa bosses as possible. If she does that, she might get a reduced sentence, and perhaps even immunity for her daughters. Cooperation with the DEA might be Emma's ultimate revenge on her husband, but will that earn her a death warrant?
Wow. I don't know how I feel about that, man. I don't know, man. I feel like she was partying, living good, and enjoying herself on camera, in public. She's from the United States. So, I mean, technically she really ain't got nothing to do with it, for real. But at the same time, I mean, since he's such a high-class criminal to the Fed, supposedly, and she never told, you know, they're going to consider her as an accessory. But at the end of the day, in America, it's the number one thing is to mind your business and be an enabler, because you don't want to get hurt, or you don't want your family to get hurt. So it's kind of a rock and a hard place when you talk about some of them women being stuck in those situations, because as a woman, you come out and you're taught to be loyal to a man, and in their country, or in their country, old girl was from America. She decided to go mess with them. But at the end of the day, I mean, they got a lot of influence as well. So it's tough, man. It's tough out here, man. I don't know, man. What y'all think about that? Y'all think she should have just minded her business and said no and stay living poor? Or maybe, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it, man. I don't know. Mixed feelings. Hey, it's your boy DtaeNoDinero, man. I told y'all I was going to come back and drop y'all one of these videos about the Narco's wife, because I've been seeing her trending on social media lately. Apparently, she's about to get transferred to a halfway house or something like that to complete out the remainder of her sentence. So I guess that's a good thing in her case. But with that target on her neck, on her head, I don't know. But it's your boy DT. I'm out. Please, let's get this silly butt.